Okay, so we're back with the grade calculator, and this time I'm going to add input validation. So if you watched a couple of movies before this, you should be caught up. Here's the grade calculator as it stands now. And to do input validation, it's fairly simple. I just want to think about only the part that has to do with input. So here's my while loop, and I'm going to do this two different ways. So in this movie, I'm going to do it using a while statement. So a nested while loops, a while loop inside our main while loop. That's what I encouraged you to do in class. And then I'll make another movie where I do it using an if statement within this while loop. So just with one while, the one while loop that we already have. Okay, so to start, let's just focus in on this bit of the code here. I enter my while loop. All these cascading if statements, all they do is create a prompt for the user. Here's where I ask the user for a grade, and I just need to validate that grade right away. So I'm going to say while, this is my nested while loop, my while loop inside a while loop. And I'm going to say while the grade is not valid, just put a little comment here so you know what I'm doing. While grade not valid, get valid input. So a not valid grade would be a grade that is less than or equal to, well, let's say less than -1, or, and remember it's two vertical bars for or a grade that is greater than 100. Now, this while statement, less than -1, I'm allowing -1 as, it's not a valid grade, but it is valid input, because -1 is the sentinel value that the user enters if they want to quit. So -1, it's not a valid grade, but it is valid input. Okay, so as long as I have not valid input, I'm going to have to get more input, or get input again. So I'm going to do this scanf to get a new value from the user for the grade. Now, I better prompt the user and let them know that I'm expecting something. So I'll say printf, and now my prompt is going to be a message, something like, I'll do valid grades are 0 to 100, and -1 to quit. Okay, so it's that simple, and it's mostly that simple because I've structured this and I've kept stuff that belongs together. So here I build my initial prompt. Here I get the grade from the user using the scanf statement, and then the first thing I do is just validate whether or not this is valid input. So if it is valid input, so if this is not true, so remember this condition is if it's not valid. So if this condition is not true, I just skip over this and I use the input, the valid input that the user gave me. And if this is true, it's not valid input, and I just ask them to input it again. And I keep going around that circle asking them to input it again until I get valid input. And all the rest of this stuff just stays exactly the same. So let's just do a build and see if that works. Uh-oh, I have an error. Grade is being used without being initialized. Oh, we've seen that before. Oh, yeah, that's left over from in class when I showed you the do while loop. I didn't initialize grade, so I'll have to go back up here and initialize grade again. Whoops. Okay, so build and start. And here it is. So let's enter, start with a valid grade, an invalid grade, another invalid grade, another one. Let's try -5. Now I'll enter a valid grade, another valid grade, and -1 to quit. So it looks like everything works. 1 passed, 2 failed, 3 in the class, 51 average. So that's it. And all I did was add this little while loop. So a nested while loop is what we call a while loop inside of a while loop. Likewise, nested if statements or if statements inside of if statements. So that's what these are, because this if statement is inside of the else clause of this one, and likewise this one. So these are nested if statements. This is a nested while loop. So all I had to do to validate input was add these couple lines of code. All right, so that's the first way, and watch the other movie if you want to see the other way.